Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Liz and this is Let's Get Lizical, where we do everything card making. And today we're just going to be making like a cute little scene on like a smaller portion of a card. And in order to do this, I usually pull out like a circle that'll either fit on, a regular A2 cut size card base. In this case, we're doing a 5x5 card, which I do once in a while, not too often. It's just a larger card and a little bit more real estate. Because I was using a 3.5 inch circle, I didn't want that to be on a 4.25 by 5.5 inch card base, just because it would take up like a fair bit of it, and then at that point I might as well just make a full scene. So I decided to do it on a 5x5 card instead. So like I said, what I did was I cut 2 circles to 3.5 inch diameter. This one I'm just going to ink blend for the sky, and I'm using Simon's Positively Saturated inks in Cadet and Royal, which are like my favorite like sky colors. I usually use it's Marine, Cadet, and Royal as a trio. And these are probably actually my most used colors that I use, so I might need to get re-inkers for this a bit quicker than the other ones, because I do tend to do a lot of skies. I do use this for like ocean scenes once in a while, but I tend to use more tealy ones a little bit more often, a little bit more oceany color, But anyway, for today, I decided to use my 3D mountain box card. And instead of cutting like the card base and all the layers and the mats and whatnot, I just cut the mountain layers out. And I'm right now coloring the front mountain a bit darker, just because as things get closer to you in a scene, it's usually a bit more saturated, more in detail. And then as it gets farther away, it gets lighter, less defined, and kind of like starts to fade off into the distance, And I'm just using the back mountains on the card. So these ones are ones that actually get glued to the base of the card. And I am not going to use all 3 of them. I decided to omit the one on the left there just because I didn't want to cover up all of the sky space. I wanted to leave some of it there. And I just cut them all out of the same gray cardstock, which is why I colored the other one a bit darker. If I wanted to, I could have spent a little bit more time on cutting out different colors, but for me, it's just easier to cut everything out in one color and then adjust as needed. Like I could have used ink for this, but I decided to use just a Copic marker to help color that in. And then here I'm just adding a bit of shading again with my Copic markers, just a little bit at the bottom of the snow caps and a little bit more in between the mountains, just so it gives it a bit of a dimension. I didn't add any foam tape to the mountains because I will be adding foam tape to the hill and then the llama on top of that, so it will already be 2 layers of foam tape high, and that's usually my maximum when I do cards. I don't want to make it too big. But right now I'm just using a set from Lawn Fawn with some stitched hills, and I'm going to cut out the snow, and I just kind of laid that out first just to make sure that I'm covering up the bottom, because the mountains just cut off straight. And I don't want that to be seen. I want it to look a little bit more natural, which is why I covered it with this snowy hill that I'm just using the foam tape on right now. And then once that's done, we'll add a bit of detail. I'm gonna add my Stardust jelly roll pen to the edges, which is something I like to do on a lot of my snowy scenes, because snow glitters when it's dark out and you see the streetlights. Like, that is my favorite part of winter is that glittery snow. So I like to add a little sparkle. I could have also used either a glitter cardstock altogether or my shimmer mist on the snow, and then that would have been a little bit more fun. But with the Stardust jelly pen, it's just a little bit more subtle, which is nice. And now I'm going to be using I think it's called Winter Alpaca stamp from Lawn Fawn. This is one of my oldest sets that I have since I started card making in 2017. So I have used this one quite a bit, but I haven't used him in a while, so it was time to bring him back out. And I have one already colored in the packaging, but I decided to, color a new one And I'm just using my Olo markers in the warm grays and making it look a bit better than the other one anyway. So for now, I'll just play a little bit of music and then come back to you guys once this is done. Okay, now that that's stamped and colored, and as you can see, I use the coordinating die for that. Now I'm just trying to figure out what else I can add to this card, because I thought that just putting the circle in the middle wasn't enough and I had to ground it a bit. So again, I'm pulling out my buffalo check pattern here. I use it quite a bit in this series. I absolutely love this paper and this print file, and I am just going to continue using it all the time. It's quick and simple, and I have lots of this paper because you print a full 8.5 by 11 and you got buffalo check for days. So I just cut I think it's a 1.5 inch strip, and I'm just going to kind of use that to help ground the circle a little bit. And here I am just like popping up that llama. Again, I'm putting him on foam tape, so I'm adding 2 layers of foam tape behind the head and then 1 layer behind the body just to help bring it up even. And then I'm going to glue on this strip, and then you're going to see me rip it off after. Because the strip wasn't cut along with the pattern itself, it makes it look crooked. The strip itself is not crooked, it's just the way it was cut. And I'm noticing that now, so I'm just gonna rip everything off here in a second. But when you're cutting something with like stripes, you want to make sure you're cutting like pretty much along with that stripe. You don't want it to be on a slight angle or anything, because especially with this pattern, it looks off. And it will drive you nuts, trust me. So I'm just going to cut a new piece and glue it on top of the area I had it there. This one's much better because I tried to get it as straight as possible by following the lines of the print itself. If I was using the biased version of this, which the squares are on a 45-degree angle instead, then it wouldn't matter as much. But because the pattern is straight up and down, it does matter visually. And you want to make sure that your lines are straight, so just be aware of that. Maybe it didn't print 100% straight in the printer, so you can always adjust that by cutting along on your trimmer with the pattern itself. And that looks so much better to me. And then we have to figure out what we're doing for a sentiment, but I guess I'm doing highlights first. So I'll be adding a bit of dot pattern to the scarf, and then like I said earlier, I'm going to use that Stardust Jelly Roll pen just for a little bit of glitter. I'm going to add dots and lines around the snow-capped mountains and the top of the snowy hill. I'm surprised I didn't add any snow to the background on this one, but that's okay. I could have actually splattered the background with water because the Simon inks are water reactive, so it gives it that distressed ink look, which I like, but I just kind of like left it as is this time around. And then I am pulling out this, I think it's called Merry Messages, maybe. Again, in the description down below, from Mama Elephant. It's just like a bunch of really tiny sentiments, and they're really good for, you know, just if you really want to add a sentiment to a card but you don't want it to like shout it out, and it just adds that little extra that you need. This one didn't necessarily need a sentiment, not every card does, but I felt like it did need it. So I'm just going to stamp it on some red cardstock and then heat emboss it in white. And then I'll add it to the card. And like you can see there, I'm using the back of the buffalo check pattern because again, I print these on Michael's Recollection cardstocks. So I have the back is plain and then the front is printed with my buffalo check. So I can use either side. I could have grabbed some scraps. I have tons of scraps with this red cardstock, but I was too lazy to do it and this was in reach. So I just flipped the cardstock over and used that instead. And because this is so narrow, I am just going to use my rotary trimmer and mini cutting mat here. I don't like to cut into my big mat because it is my filming space. So I have this mini one just for this purpose. I got it from like Dollarama for like, I think $4.50 maybe, something around there. And it came with like a little X-Acto blade as well. But anyway, the sentiment I'm popping up on a few layers of cardstock because I will be overlapping this with the circle and then also the card base. So I want to prop some of it up on foam tape and then I'll glue the rest of it straight down to the card just to keep it even. And then I'll end up adding a few confetti bits to this just to add a little bit more to the card. So it's not so plain. I could have left it at this. I don't hate it at all. But you know, a little bit of confetti never hurt anybody. But yeah, that's pretty much our card for today, guys. Thanks so much again for joining me. I'll be back again on Friday for another video, but if you like this one, please give it a thumbs up. Leave your comments down below and let me know what your thoughts are. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. I'd love to have you here. And make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future content. Also, follow me over on Instagram and Facebook for additional content that I'll have on the days where I don't have any videos, at least during the week. I'm not necessarily going to be posting on weekends, but I might also, we'll see. But again, yeah, follow me there for extra inspiration. And until next time, thanks guys. Bye.